In the early 1500s, the Consett moorland, which sprawled across the Derwent Valley in County Durham, was a significant area for the locals. It served as common ground for grazing, a source of peat for fuel, and a crossroad for travellers. Among these travellers was a man named Michael, a robust and hearty individual who had been staying in Ledgate, a small settlement nestled in the valley. Michael was known by the locals for his friendly demeanour, but also for the missing 2 front teeth, a result of a fight at a local pub where a drunk punter punched him in the mouth. Michael kept his false teeth in a cup of water by his bedside at night, a reminder of the brawl that cost him his natural smile. Michael found solace in the arms of Laura, a beautiful and kind-hearted woman from Medhamsley Edge, a hamlet situated a few miles from Ledgate. Their love blossomed quickly, fueled by their shared dreams and passions. They would often meet halfway on the moorland, sharing stolen moments under the vast open sky. Michael and Laura's first encounter was far from a fairy tale meeting. They crossed paths at a bustling market in Medhamsley Edge, where Laura was helping her parents sell their produce. Michael, immediately captivated by her grace and the kind warmth in her eyes, couldn't resist striking up a conversation. However, Laura, wary of strangers and focused on her responsibilities, brushed off his initial advances. Undeterred, Michael started frequenting the market, making small purchases and engaging in light conversations with Laura's parents, slowly earning their trust and affection. One day, after a particularly grueling week of work, Laura found a small bouquet of wildflowers, meticulously arranged, resting atop her basket of goods. Attached was a note from Michael, expressing his admiration and requesting the honor of her company for a walk around the village. Touched by his persistence and genuine kindness, Laura finally relented and agreed to the date, marking the beginning of their blossoming romance. Their love, however, was not without obstacles. Laura's family, facing financial hardships, made the difficult decision to move away to a distant relative's home. The news was devastating to both Laura and Michael. "I cannot bear the thought of being so far from you," Laura confessed one evening as they sat on a boulder overlooking the valley. "I know, my love," Michael replied, taking her hands in his. "But we will find a way to be together, I promise you." As the days passed, the time for Laura's departure grew closer. On the eve of her departure, Michael made a decision. He would cross the Consett Moor that night, despite the warnings of a coming storm, and surprise Laura with a visit. He wanted to reassure her of his love and commitment before she left. As the evening shadows lengthened, Michael set out across the moor. The wind howled through the heather, carrying with it the scent of rain. As he made his way across the uneven terrain, he couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. The moorland, usually a place of solace for him, felt menacing and unforgiving. As the first raindrops began to fall, Michael quickened his pace. He knew the moorland well, but the darkness and the storm made it difficult to navigate. The rain soon turned into a torrent, and the wind whipped at his face. Despite the adverse conditions, Michael pressed on, determined to reach Laura. As the hours passed, the storm grew more intense. Michael, soaked to the bone and shivering, realized he was lost. The familiar landmarks he relied on were obscured by the rain and the darkness. Desperate, he called out for help, but his cries were carried away by the wind. As the night wore on, Michael's strength began to wane. Exhausted, cold and disoriented, he stumbled and fell. As he lay on the ground, he thought of Laura, and the tears mingled with the rain on his face. Despite his best efforts, he could not muster the strength to get up. As the dawn light began to break, Michael closed his eyes for the final time. Back in Ledgate, the locals organized a search party when Michael did not return. Despite their best efforts, they could not find any trace of him. The storm had washed away any tracks he might have left, and the moorland, vast and unforgiving, swallowed him whole. As the days turned into weeks, and the weeks into months, Michael was declared lost to the moor. Michael's disappearance became the stuff of local legend, a cautionary tale of the dangers of the moorland. In the years that followed, there were reports of a ghostly figure wandering the moor on moonless nights. Locals whispered that it was the spirit of Michael, still searching for his lost love. Despite the passage of time, the memory of Michael's disappearance lingered. a haunting reminder of the power of love and the unforgiving nature of the moorland. The legend of Michael's mysterious disappearance on the moor had reverberated through the generations in the Derwent Valley. Some told stories of a ghostly figure that was said to emerge from the mist on moonlit nights, the spirit of Michael forever condemned to search for his lost love. Decades after that fateful night, and on a chilly autumn evening, a group of 5 friends, Sarah, James, Emma, Mark and David, decided to camp on Consett Moor. Their laughter echoed in the cool air as they set up their tents and lit a campfire. Huddled together for warmth, they shared stories and jokes, the flickering flames casting an eerie glow on their faces. As the darkness deepened, the mood around the campsite shifted. A cold wind picked up, rustling the leaves and sending shivers down their spines. Sarah, peering into the darkness, thought she saw a figure moving in the distance. James, always the jester, joked that it might be the ghost of Michael coming to join their campfire. The group laughed nervously, but as the night wore on, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Emma, venturing away from the campsite to gather more firewood, stumbled upon the figure standing in the mist. Frozen with fear, she watched as it approached, its eyes hollow with eternal sadness. As the figure, unmistakably Michael, reached out a ghostly hand towards her, Emma panicked and turned to run. In her haste, she tripped and fell, scrambling back to her feet, just as his spectral hand made contact with her shoulder. "Laura," he whispered, before vanishing into the mist. Emma, shaken to her core, hurried back to the campsite and recounted her encounter. The friends, now terrified, kept a vigilant eye on the surrounding darkness. From nowhere, storm clouds started to gather overhead. Michael's spirit, fueled by centuries of anguish, grew more malevolent. The wind howled with supernatural ferocity, rain lashed down like piercing needles, and the ground trembled beneath their feet. The friends, now huddled together and concerned for their lives, started to shout and scream. Then from nowhere, a ferocious gust of wind violently ripped their tent and belongings from the ground, narrowly missing James. The friends clung to each other, their conversations a chaotic blend of fear and determination as they strategized their escape from Michael's vengeful wrath. As the climactic confrontation unfolded, the friends were pitted against the full force of Michael's tormented spirit. The wind wailed like a banshee, the rain stung like 1,000 needles, and the ground trembled as if the very earth rebelled against the injustice of Michael's fate. As they battled for their lives against the elements and the supernatural forces that sought to claim them, Mark shouted to his friends, "Run! Run towards the houses in the distance! Hold on to each other! Leave no one behind!" The friends, now tired, had used every last ounce of energy and will trying to battle the elements. Resigning themselves to a doomed fate, they screamed and shouted at the dark spirit. As Michael finally reached them, a radiant light suddenly appeared. Materializing from the darkness was a young woman, her countenance as luminous as the moon, smiling warmly at Michael with her hand extended towards him. "Michael, stop! I'm here." Michael's eyes, once abysses of anger and sadness, gradually began to recognize her. The darkness that had consumed his gaze slowly dissipated, replaced by a light that seemed to infuse his entire being. As Michael's eyes filled with light, a profound sense of recognition washed over him. It was Laura, his lost love, reaching out to him across the chasm of time and space. The storm, which had been raging with unrelenting fury, began to subside as if the universe itself was acknowledging their reunion. Laura's ethereal presence seemed to soothe the tempest in Michael's soul. The torment and anguish that had consumed him for centuries began to fade away, replaced by a sense of peace that he had not known since his mortal days. The friends, who had been bracing for the worst, looked on in awe as the spectral figure of Michael transformed before their eyes. No longer a vengeful spirit, he now radiated an aura of serenity. Hand in hand, Michael and Laura turned towards the friends and offered them a smile. Their determination to survive and their refusal to give in to fear had ultimately led to this moment of redemption. With a final, lingering look at the world of the living, the reunited lovers ascended into the night sky, disappearing into the stars. Left behind on the moor, the friends were in a state of shock, struggling to process what they had just witnessed. The haunting of Consett Moor, A tale that had been passed down through generations had come to an end before their very eyes. With a newfound appreciation for the power of love and the importance of facing one's demons, they gathered their scattered belongings and made their way back to civilization, forever changed by their encounter with the supernatural. A warning to those who tread upon ancient lands. The past is never truly buried, and the spirits of those long gone may still linger seeking resolution. It is a foolhardy soul who ventures into such places without heed for the tales of old. For on moonless nights when the veil between the worlds is thin, the past may come alive once more, demanding that old wounds be healed and forgotten wrongs be righted. Approach with caution, for the moorland is a place of mystery, and those who fail to show it the respect it demands may find themselves ensnared in its timeless embrace. Beware the haunting on Consett Moor, for its echoes reverberate still. So, dear listeners, we hope you enjoyed today's story. Remember to like the video and subscribe if you did, so not to miss any of our weekly tales and stories of times past and present.